welcome to class. For today, there are no props required, so whenever you have your space to practice in, let's go ahead and meet in Vajrasana at the top of your mat. And coming into this space, if you know right off the bat that this is a more intense position for you to be in, go ahead and grab a blanket if you feel like that's helpful for you. So go ahead and just tuck your toes to start. Maybe work through the soles of the feet for just a moment or so before untucking those toes. Tops of the feet come down onto the earth. Shins parallel to one another. No, don't necessarily need to touch if that feels too narrow. But keeping the inner lining of the ankles hugged in toward one another so that you find a nice supportive base for your seat here. Feeling a gentle press through the tops of the feet, through the shins. Just feeling a nice opening through the front of that ankle joint. Letting this bit of, you're technically opening the ankle joint in the front aspect of that space, but you're also feeling a sense of compression as your body weight rests into this shape. So feeling that balance between opening, that compressive opening almost actually in this space. And finding your breath as always, giving your body, your mind a chance to arrive here in this space. We won't be here too long, just long enough to acclimate, feel those sensations, arrive, set your intentions, all those good things. Everything you need to get yourself started. Hands can rest at heart center or the palms can rest onto the thighs. 2 breaths here together. So seal the lips, go ahead, deep inhale, fill all the way up. Cleansing breath, open the mouth, exhale. One more, seal the lips, deep inhale. Find a tall spine with that inhale, and then exhale all the way out. Go ahead and shift your weight forward onto your hands and knees. Maybe to untuck those toes for another brief moment. Just kind of reverse that sensation. Maybe finding a little bounce or two opening through the sole of the feet. Hips stay resting onto or toward the heels. And then from here, go ahead and open the feet away from one another. So they're coming alongside the edges of the mat. And as you rock onto those big toes, those knees are going to come wide. You're going to find your way into a passive squat or malasana. And as you come into this space right away, this is definitely a very deep position to kind of come right into. So I guess I could have mentioned that having a blanket nearby might have been helpful for some of these movements. So feel free to grab that if you have one nearby. You can always fold that up into a capacity of your liking. And you can bring that underneath the heels just to give you enough of a lift. Coming into this position nice and fresh at the beginning of class. And just wiggle side to side. Exploring the depth of your hips. Being into this space, it can be a lot on the knees, the hips, the ankles, wherever you have the greatest restriction, that's probably where you'll feel it first. So just acknowledge that and find movement that you need to kind of weasel your way into this shape before settling into a depth that's comfortable for you. Knees inside, or elbows inside the knees, palms of the hands come toward one another to help guide those knees out and away from one another, finding a long spine that kind of grows out of this low shape here. Finding a deep inhale. Exhale, settle into your space. Deep inhale once more. And on your exhale, fingertips come down toward the earth, heels come behind the toes. Exhale, you're finding a forward fold, coming out of those knees. Sit bones, tailbone lifts up toward the sky. And then inhale, toes come out, heels click in. Settle back into that malasana. We're going to find a few rounds in and out, kind of working our way through the back line of the legs, opening up that knee joint. On the exhale, find that fold. Adjust your stance as you need, but keeping it wide, keeping those feet alongside the edges here. Inhale, sit low. Exhale, fold. Letting the head fall heavy in this fold as the hips lift up towards the sky. Inhale, sit low. Draw those fingertips down onto the earth to help guide that chest and heart forward. Exhale, find your fold. Inhale, lower your seat, chest lifts up, find that malasana. Here for just 2 more breaths. Draw the palms of the hands toward one another as the elbows guide those knees open. Hands come down toward the earth, roll onto the big toes, drop those knees. If you did grab a blanket halfway through that, go ahead and set it aside. And then go ahead and find a tabletop position. Go ahead and bring the shins parallel to one another, untuck the toes. And then hands reach forward, sit the hips back, child's pose. Keeping a smaller shape here in this child's pose. So the belly is resting on the thighs as the shins are parallel to one another. So there's a little bit of space here between left and right, because we're going to transition from child's pose up and through a tabletop position. So you want to make sure that we have a nice starting point for our lower body. But while we're here in this shape, again, appreciate the compression that you're experiencing between the lower body, the belly and the lower body, and the nice subtle lengthening along the spine through the side bodies as you reach those fingertips toward the top of the mat. And we're going to find some nice fluid movement in our next few rounds of flow. Opening up through the lower body, creating space within the spine, all the good stuff, all the feel-good stuff, with the goal of kind of like a moving meditation, linking breath to movement at a pace that feels comfortable for you. So if you end up being slightly ahead of me in pace, slightly behind me in pace, once you get into your rhythm, keep up with a flow that feels good for you. So one more breath. Exhale. On the next inhale, subtle grip through the mat as you start to press through the tops of your feet, your shins, and round through cat pose. And as you're rounding through that cat pose, doming through the upper back, curving underneath through the lower back, you're going to bring that right foot forward along with you, outside the right hand, and you're going to start to unravel the spine now as the hips drop low, the chest peels up and forward, coming into a nice low lizard lunge, opening up through that left hip, staying lifted through the low belly. And then exhale, press through the fingertips, press through the sole of that right foot as you draw the hips back in space, coming into a half splits pose. And now here in this half splits, I want you to try to keep the sole of that right foot down. Again, working through that right ankle in just a different way here in this pose. So still pulling that right hip back in space, still a slight bend in that right knee, but seeing how it feels to keep that sole of the foot grounded. As we pull ourselves forward back into that right foot, kickstand that left leg back behind you, sweep that left arm forward, up and overhead as you reach those fingertips towards the top of the mat. Opening through those inner thighs. And then keep that circle going, press through that right foot, straighten through that right leg. Left arm's gonna come up and overhead as it reaches toward the back of the mat. Right heel clicks out as the right arm comes up and overhead, coming into a fallen gate pose, if you will. Really reaching the right rib cage up and toward the sky, anchoring down through the pinky edge of that right foot. And then from here, using the strength of that right side body, prop off that left hand. Bend back through that right knee. Heel comes behind those right big toe. Right hand plants. Sweep that left arm up and overhead once more. Find that almost that modified, that shortened side angle pose. Pulling that right rib cage underneath you, opening through the chest. And then start to send the hips back in space once more, but the left hand's going to come forward to meet the right. Sitting back into those hips, keeping that left leg kickstand if you're able, and then coming into a half splits with a little bit different setup of the legs. And then this time, let the right toes lift up toward the sky. Drawing those fingertips toward the top of the mat so you're opening through that left rib cage. Inhale, pull forward. Bring the left leg back to that starting point, that neutral position. And then press through the hands, lift up that right leg. Right leg meets the left. Exhale, sit back, child's pose. Find your breath. Now moving from one pose to the next, we'll move with a little bit more pace as we get familiar with where we're going. Deep inhale, fill up the back of that rib cage. Exhale all the way. Now your next inhale, drag through the fingertips as you round through cat pose. As you're rounding through cat pose, creating that space within the upper back, left leg comes with you, coming to the outside of the left hand. And as you continue to move forward, you unravel the spine, lifting through the chest. Letting those hips draw down toward the earth. Fingertips are keeping the rest of your body elevated. And then exhale, send the hips back in space, coming into Ardha Hanuman half splits, playing with the sensation of keeping that left big toe grounded down toward the earth. Seeing how that changes the sensation and where that sensation goes. Still pulling that left hip back in space. Still reaching the chest and heart forward. Maybe if the sole of the foot tries to float a little bit, that's okay. Just keep that intention in mind of trying to reach down toward the earth. Really open up through the front of that left ankle. Come back into that left foot, bend into that left knee, kickstand the right leg back behind you as you sweep that right arm up and overhead, reaching toward the top of the mat. Keeping that connection, left leg, left arm, to find that modified side angle pose. Opening through the right side of the body, the left inner thigh. Really using that connection to open up. And then keep the reach of those fingertips up and back behind you towards the back of the mat as the left heel clicks behind those toes. Drop the right fingertips toward the earth as the left arm reaches up and over, finding that falling gate pose. Stay lifted within the right side body as it picks up, that left side opens up. Breathe into that left rib, that left lung. Strength of the left side body. As you come back toward the top of the mat, left heel clicks behind those toes. Left hand plants inside that foot. Sweep that right arm up and overhead. Find that side angle pose once more. It's almost like the entire front of the body is in that side angle pose. That right leg is just dropped down. So having that same thought of the hips, of that connection of the left side, of that reach of the right arm. And then go ahead and bring those right fingertips down toward the earth, keeping that right leg as it is best of your ability. Start to send the hips back in space, lifting those left toes, coming into that half splits pose. But that right leg is tucked underneath you. And keeping those fingertips down toward the earth, trying to explore a nice lengthening of the right side body. Digging that left heel down and into the mat. Pull yourself forward. Right leg comes back to neutral. Press through the hands, free up that left leg to come back to meet the right. Exhale, child's pose. Find your breath. We're going to do 2 more rounds, trying to slowly increase our pace with each round. Trying to get a little bit more comfortable, waving from front to back of the mat. On your next inhale, start to draw the body through that cat pose. Create space, open through the back line of the body, and then bring that right leg with you as you start to unravel. Coming into that lizard lunge. Exhale, send the hips back. Keep that right big toe grounded. Keep pulling that right hip back in space. Come back into that right foot, plant the right hand, kickstand that left arm, that left leg back behind you. Sweep that left arm up and overhead. Feel that opening. Exhale, press through that right foot to help transition to the back of the mat. Left hand comes down. Right heel clicks behind those right toes as the right arm reaches up and over, reaching toward the back of the mat. Really puffing up through that right side. Gentle squeeze of the glutes to open those hips. Then strength of the right side body, lift yourself up. Right heel comes behind the toes, right hand plants, sweep that left arm up and overhead. Find that modified side plank. Exhale. Keep that left leg kickstand. Find that half splits with this little variation of the legs. This time the right toes are going to lift. Pull yourself back forward. Plant the hands. Set up that left leg. Right leg meets the left. Child's pose. One breath. Inhale, pull the body forward nice and slow. Move at your pace. Left leg comes forward outside the left hand. Chest and heart lifts. Exhale, send those hips back. Keep that left toe grounded. Keep pulling that left hip back in space. Inhale, come back into that left foot, kickstand the right leg. Right arm sweeps forward and up and overhead. Find that side angle. Use that connection of the left side, maybe come up onto the fingertips to find that opening. Trying to shine that belly button over toward the right side of the room. And then keep sweeping that right hand to the back of the mat. Left heel clicks behind the toes. Left arm up and overhead. Find that fallen gate pose. Keep lifting up and picking up through that left rib cage. Back to the top of the mat. Pull through that left foot to come forward. Left hand plants, right arm sweeps up and overhead. Open up. As those right fingertips come down toward the earth, send those hips back in space, left toes lift. Draw that left hip, that left sit bone back behind you. Let that be the pulling point to find length within the back of that left leg. Pull yourself forward, dig through that left heel. Straighten out the back leg. Press through the hands, left shin meets the right. Exhale, sit the hips back, child's pose. One more breath, final round here. On your next inhale, pull the body forward nice and slow, keeping that chin tucked in toward the chest as the left leg comes, goodness, the right foot comes outside the right hand. Inhale, pull the body up and through. Exhale, send the hips back. Right big toe stays grounded. Inhale, come forward. Kickstand that left leg. Open up, side angle. Exhale, press through that right foot. Come to the back of the mat. Rearrange that right foot as you come into that fallen gate pose. Go ahead and pop off that left foot. Heel comes back behind those toes. Right fingertips plant. Inhale. Left arm sweeps up and overhead. Exhale, send those hips back. Keep that left leg kickstand. Right toes lift up towards the sky. Use those fingertips to keep yourself anchored as you bow open through that left rib cage. Pull yourself back forward. Left shin comes back behind you. One more add-on, plant that left hand. Inhale, right arm up and overhead. Find that twisted lizard lunge. Exhale, right hand comes inside that right foot. Right shin comes back to meet the left. Exhale, child's pose. Last and final round on this left side. Inhale, pull the body through, round, nice and slow. Create space, left foot comes with you. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, send those hips back in space. Keep those left toes grounded. We're reaching toward the ground. Come forward. Plant that left hand, kickstand the right leg. Right arm up and overhead. Feel that opening. Back of the mat, press through that left foot. Right fingertips come behind or toward the back of the mat. Open through that left rib cage. Start to bring your body back forward. Left heel behind the toes. Right arm up and overhead. Find that side angle. Exhale, pull that right hip down and forward. Left toes lift up toward the sky. Find that funky half splits. Sinking back into the hips. Come back forward. Plant that right hand. Right shin comes back behind you. Inhale, left arm up and overhead. Find that opening. Exhale. Left hand comes down. Free up that left foot. Left shin meets the right. Exhale. Child's pose. Go ahead and slowly start to walk the hands up toward the knees. Cross those ankles. Anything you need to do to find your way onto your sit bones. And then nice and slow, roll all the way down. From here, go ahead and bring one knee in toward the chest at a time. Find yourself a nice compression. Maybe roll onto the back, that low back side to side. And then go ahead and grab the pinky edge of both feet. Draw those knees, those thighs down alongside the body. Find happy baby. Maybe kicking one leg out at a time. Just either to feel the sensation within the back line of the legs or to explore a little bit more depth, kind of cozy into your space. And feel free to stay here if that feels good. Otherwise, you can go ahead and bring the knees in toward one another. Palms rest alongside your body. Legs can come up toward the sky. And you can help guide yourself into a nice plow pose. This might feel nice on the spine, backs of the hips, back line of the legs. Really a nice long opening for the entire back body, but move into a space that feels good and comfortable for you. If coming into this kind of compression, into this space, if it's anything that you feel like you're second guessing in the environment that you're in, but you like the idea of having those legs up and overhead, you can always just stay in that position there. Or if you'd like some support, find a wall, rest those legs up the wall, let it feel good, pedal those feet, and just let the wall support you and your body. But options for you to round out your last few moments of movement here in class. Settling into a space that feels good, that you are curious to explore, but comfortable to explore.
knowing that those, if you are in plow pose, that the toes reaching that space behind you is just that. It's reaching into that space with the support and guidance of gravity and using those arms alongside your body to support you into that space. Those toes do not need to touch to feel the sensation that your body will benefit from. If they do touch, wonderful. May take a few breaths for that settling to happen. And that's okay. That's great. Take your time moving into any position you choose to be in, number one. But if it's not something that you do all the time, be gentle with your body. See what shows up. See where you need to be and what support is most beneficial for you here in this moment. So wherever you choose to be, go ahead and spend just another breath or so holding on to those sensations, breathing into those sensations. And then slowly, if your legs are up the wall, feel free to stay there. If you chose to move into any other space on your mat, slowly begin to find your way into a nice Shavasana. Bringing those legs nice and wide and away from one another. Arms come far away from the mat. So you're taking up as much space as you can. Letting the body settle nice and open and relaxing into this bigger shape. As you slowly start to feel the body melt down into the earth. And feeling a mix of heaviness and lightness kind of wave over you. A heaviness as you melt into the earth, but a lightness as you release any lingering tension that may be present in your body. Because here in this moment, it no longer serves you. So scan your body for any of those kind of lasting little bits of tension that may remain in your space here in this moment. Acknowledge it, let it go. And feel free to stay in this space for as long as you like, as long as you need, as long as you have. And as always, I thank you so much for practicing with me. It's such a pleasure to have you join me here in this space. If you liked today's flow or any other class, please feel free to like, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you, see how it went. And I look forward to seeing y'all in next class. Have an awesome rest of your day.